Hello students, in this video we are going to see how to perform estimation of glucose by colorimetry. That is, we will see how we can find out the concentration of unknown glucose solution with help of colorimetry. So for that, let us see what is colorimetry and what is a colorimeter. So colorimetry is a technique which is used to determine the concentration of colored compounds in a solution. And the instrument which is used to determine this is known as colorimeter. Hence, colorimeter is a device which is used to test the concentration of a solution by measuring its absorbance of a specific wavelength of light. This is done by passing the light of specific wavelength of visible spectrum through the solution in a photoelectric colorimeter instrument. So visible spectrum, it refers to the wavelength ranging from 400 to 800 nanometer. Light corresponding to 400 to 800 nanometer is allowed to pass through the solution which is to be determined. So the solution will absorb the specific wavelength in between 400 to 800 nanometer. And by analyzing the transmitted beam, we can find out the quantity of light which is absorbed. So this quantity of light which is absorbed can be observed in the form of a galvanometric reading. Colorimeter makes use of filters, that is, the filters, they allow the specific wavelength to pass through. For example, blue filter, it will allow the light wavelength transmission from 470 to 490 nanometer. Green, it will allow 500 to 530 nanometer wavelength radiation to pass through. So based on our requirement, based on the color of our solution, we can choose the specific filter. The two fundamental laws of absorption which govern the colorimetric estimation are Lambert's law and Beer's law. So let us see both the laws one by one. As per Lambert's law, when a monochromatic light passes through a solution of constant concentration, the absorption of the solution is directly proportional to the length of the solution. That is, absorption is directly proportional to the path length of the cell in which the solution is filled. So higher the path length, higher will be the absorption. According to Beer's law, when monochromatic light passes through a solution of constant length, the absorption by the solution is directly proportional to the concentration of the solution. That is, higher the concentration, higher will be the absorbance. Let us see the equations for Lambert's law and Beer's law. So as per Lambert's law, log to the base 10 into I0 upon I is equal to K1 into L into C. And as per Beer's law, log to the base 10, I0 upon I is equal to K2 into L into C. So let us see the terms. I0 is intensity of incident light, that is the light which is entering our solution. I is the intensity of transmitted light, that is light leaving the solution. So obviously I will be less as compared to I0 because our color solution is going to absorb the incident light. So the intensity of transmitted light will get decreased. L is the length of absorbing solution. C is the concentration of colored substance in the solution. And K1 and K2 are constants. So if we combine the Beer's law and Lambert's law, we arrive for an equation for transmittance, which is transmittance is equal to I upon I0. So I0 is the intensity of incident radiation and I is the intensity of transmitted radiation. So T represents transmittance, 100% value of T. It represents a totally transparent substance with no radiation being absorbed, whereas a zero value of T represents a totally opaque substance. that is the substance which represents complete absorption. Now for intermediate values, that is between 100% transmittance to 0% transmittance, we can define the absorbance or extinction. So absorbance is represented by A, whereas extinction is represented by E. So we can write the formula A or E is equal to log to the base 10 into 1 upon T. Or reciprocal of T can be replaced by I0 upon I. So A is equal to log to the base 10 I0 upon I, where I0 is the intensity of incident light and I is the intensity of transmitted light. So this is how we can find the absorbance of the solution. Now let us see the instrumentation of a colorimeter. So you can see the light source. So here we can use tungsten lamp because as it is colorimeter, we can use the visible range. So tungsten lamp, it allows the transmission for 400 to 800 nanometer. Then it passes through slit, then condensing lens, then filter as we have discussed earlier. Then it passes through the sample holder, which are generally referred to as cuvettes. Then to the detector, that is photocell, and finally deflection is seen on the galvanometer, that is we can perceive the reading through galvanometer. So light source tungsten filament lamp is used. Now role of the slit, it is to allow only a beam of light to pass through, that is it prevents the unwanted or stray light from entering. Condensing lenses, the light after passing through slit fall on the condenser lens, which gives a parallel beam of light. Next part is the filter. So these are made up of colored glass. Filters are used for selecting the light of narrow wavelength. Filters will absorb the light of unwanted wavelength and allow only the monochromatic light to pass through. That is, filter will allow only the desired wavelength to pass through. For example, if you are using a green filter, then green filter absorbs all the color except green light which is allowed to pass through. This light transmitted through a green filter has a wavelength from 500 to 560 nanometer. Likewise, we can choose the filter which we desire. Filter use is always complementary in the color to the color of the solution. Next is sample holder, that is cuvette. Cuvettes are used to hold our sample solution. They are made up of special glass, plastic or quartz material. But as we are dealing with the visible spectrum, so glass or plastic cuvettes are also sufficient. Quartz material is needed when we are dealing with the wavelength ranging from 200 to 400 nanometers. So as it is the colorimeter, we can use glass or plastic material cuvettes. They may be square, rectangular or round in shape with a fixed diameter. So usually 1 centimeter. Thus path length is generally 1 centimeter and having uniform surface. Next is detector or photocell. So these are photosensitive elements which convert the light energy into electrical energy. The electrical signal generated is directly proportional to the intensity of the light falling on the detector. The electrical signal generated in the photocell is measured by the galvanometer, which displays the percent transmission or absorbance, and this we can read on the output window. Let us see some of the applications of colorimeter. These are used for a wide variety of applications in the chemical and biological fields, including analysis of blood, water, soil nutrients and foodstuffs, then determination of solution concentration, determination of reaction levels, and determination of bacterial crop growth. So these are the various applications of colorimeter, or you can say colorimetry. So let us now see the actual practical. So aim is to perform the estimation of unknown glucose sample solution by colorimetry. So requirements we have divided as apparatus, chemicals and instrument. So apparatus we would be requiring are beakers, test tubes, pipette, rubber bulb, spatula, butter paper, filter paper and volumetric flask. Chemicals, glucose, then DNSA which is dinitrosalicylic acid, NaOH that is sodium hydroxide, distilled water, sodium potassium tartrate also known as Rochelle salt. An instrument we are going to use is colorimeter. So its model is Spectronic. Let us see the principle. So glucose, now we know glucose is colorless. So you may wonder how we can determine it with colorimetry. So for that we need to convert the glucose into the colored solution. So for this we are using DNSA because glucose gives an intense red color with DNSA, that is dinitrosalicylic acid, in an alkaline medium. So for that we have used NaOH. The reduced DNSA formed has the maximum absorbance at 600 nanometer. So you will see that the reduced DNSA, it is of red color and it shows maximum absorbance at 600 nanometer. Estimation thus involves color development followed by reading the absorbance using a suitable colorimeter against a reagent plant. So a standard plot with the concentration of glucose is first made from which unknown concentration can be easily found out. So what we are going to do, we are going to prepare a standard calibration curve. We are going to take the absorbance of various concentration of glucose standard solutions. Then we will take the absorbance of our sample solution, that is unknown concentration. By plotting it on the graph, we can find out the concentration. So let us see the preparation of reagents. DNSA solution. For this we have to weigh 1 gram of DNSA, add 20 ml of 2 normal NaOH, dissolve and add 50 ml of distilled water. Mix it and add 30 gram of Rochelle salt. Dissolve by stirring. Make up the volume to 100 ml with distilled water. Filter if it is required and store in amber colored bottle and protect it from carbon dioxide. So this is how we can make dinitrosalicylic acid reagent. For preparing 2 normal NaOH, weigh 4 gram of NaOH pellets and make up the volume to 50 ml. And to prepare 3 normal NaOH, weigh 6 gram of NaOH pellets and make up the volume to 50 ml with distilled water. We will require stock solution of glucose. So for this we have to weigh 300 milligram of glucose and then make up the volume to 100 ml with distilled water. How to operate the colorimeter? So turn on the instrument and allow it to warm up for 15 minutes. Then set the desired filter. As we have discussed, we can choose the filters based on our requirement. So as we have seen that reduced DNSA shows maximum absorbance at 600 nanometer. So we would be requiring the wavelength corresponding to 600 nanometer to pass through our solution. So we are going to choose 620 number filter because it covers the range from 580 to 640 nanometer. Then calibrate it with distilled water. So set percentage transmittance to 100 and absorbance to 0. Now let us see the procedure. So we have to take clean and dry test tubes and pipette out 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2 and 2.5 ml of glucose stock solutions into each of the test tubes. In all the test tubes, now add 3 ml of 3 normal NaOH, because we have seen that DNSA reacts with glucose in the alkaline medium. So for that we are adding NaOH. Now add 3 ml of DNSA reagent to all the test tubes. Then add sufficient distilled water to make the final volume to 10 ml in each of the test tube. Now keep the test tubes in boiling water for 15 minutes. Cool the test tubes and then record the absorbance or percentage T of all the solutions. Then take the reading for unknown glucose sample. So first we will take the reading of the standard solutions of glucose which we have prepared. Note down all the readings and then take the reading of the unknown glucose sample. Then plot the graph of absorbance versus concentration. That is absorbance on y-axis and concentration on x-axis. We can find out the concentration of unknown solution by extrapolating the absorbance. So now let us see the final concentration which we are getting in each test tube. So we are going to take 7 test tubes, label it from 1 to 6 and 7. 7 stands for unknown. So we also need the blank. So for that in test tube 1 we are pipetting no glucose solution. That is 1 will be our blank solution which doesn't contain any sample. In second test tube we will pipette out 0.5 ml, then 1 ml, then 1.5 ml and likewise. We have prepared the unknown sample by diluting. So we are going to take 2 ml of the unknown sample in the test tube number 7. Then we are adding DNSA 3 ml in all the test tubes. Then NaOH 3 ml in all the test tubes. Now we want total volume to be 10 ml. So in test tube 1 we are going to add 4 ml distilled water. You can see 3 ml it contains DNSA, 3 ml NaOH. So total is 6 ml. So water will be required 4 ml to make 10 ml. So similarly in second test tube we have to add 3.5 ml of distilled water and likewise. So you can see total volume in all the test tubes is going to be 10 ml. Test tube 1 is our blank solution. Now you can see test tube 2. The concentration of glucose in this test tube is 150 microgram per ml. So how we have got 150 microgram per ml? We had prepared the stock solution of 300 milligram per ml. From that we have pipetted out 0.5 ml and then we have made up the volume to 10 ml. So final concentration comes out to be 150 microgram per ml. In third test tube, we are going to have final concentration as 300 microgram per ml, then 450, 650 and then 750 microgram per ml. Concentration of the unknown we have to find out.
Hello students, now we are going to determine the concentration of the unknown glucose sample with the help of colorimeter. So we are going to perform colorimetry. So first of all, let us see the instrument. So this is the colorimeter from Equiptronics. You can see here, this is the sample holder. So here we can keep our cuvette. And these are the various filters which allow the specific wavelength to pass through. For example, you can see here filter of 700. It will allow the range from IR to 670 to pass through. Filter having 620. So color is red, orange and it will allow the radiations ranging from 640 to 580 nanometer to pass through it. So for glucose, we are going to use the filter 620 nanometer. So it will allow the range from 640 to 580 to pass through. and glucose shows maximum absorbance at 600 nanometer. So we have set 620 nanometer. These are the two modes you can see, percentage transmittance and absorbance. So first we have to switch on the instrument and we have to allow to stabilize it for 15 minutes. Now we will calibrate it with the help of the distilled water. So you can see these are the cuvettes which are made up of glass. As we are working in visible range, glass material can be used. So we have already washed the cuvettes. So we will calibrate it with distilled water. We have to keep the cuvettes in this direction because you can see the light source is from here. So you can see the light source. So we are going to place the cuvette such that the transparent hole faces the light source. So this is distilled water. So you can see percentage transmittance is 100 and absorbance is 0. So now we are going to do the sample analysis. So for that we need glucose standard solution, DNSA, that is dinitrosalicylic acid, and NaOH. So you can see that glucose is colorless. So how can we determine it in colorimetry? So for that we are going to use DNSA, that is dinitrosalicylic acid, and NaOH. So this will impart the color to our glucose solution. Solution which will formed with the help of glucose and DNSA is reduced DNSA. So we have prepared the samples of various concentration. You can see this is the blank sample, that is it does not contain glucose sample. It contains only DNSA and NaOH. Subsequent test tubes, they contain varying amount of glucose. So for example you can see here test tube 1 contains blank, that is glucose solution is 0. Test tube 2 contains 0.5 ml glucose, which will give the concentration 150 microgram per ml. Next test tube it contains 1 ml glucose. So you can see the increasing concentration of glucose. And the 7th one, it is our unknown glucose sample. Now we will take the reading of the blank. So we will adjust absorbance 0 with the help of blank. So we will discard the distilled water. So we have to set the absorbance 0. So you can see we have set 0 as this was the blank. It doesn't contains any glucose. So absorbance will be 0. Now we will take the reading of our first standard solution. So we will rinse the cuvette. So we are going to take reading of the standard solution. So you can see the reading is 0.15. We will note down the reading 0.15. Now before taking the next reading, we will again see that it is 0 for the blank. We'll rinse slightly. So you can see absorbance is 0.24. So before taking the next reading, each and every time we have to see that for blank it is 0. We have to set 0. So So we are going to take the next sample or next standard solution rather. So absorbance has increased, it is 0.35. Again we will set it is 0. So you can note down the absorbance, it is 0.42. Again we will take the next standard solution. Before taking this absorbance, we will see or set 0 with the help of the blank. So you can note it is 0.52. Now we are going to take the reading of our unknown solution. So this is our unknown. We have prepared in the same manner. So you can see it is 0.31. So we will note down the reading 0.32. So you can see here we have taken the readings of various standard concentration. So now we will plot the graph of concentration versus absorbance, and from the standard graph we will keep the absorbance 0.32 and we will find the concentration at this point.
So as we have seen in the practical, we have took absorbance of various concentration of glucose solutions. So for 150 microgram per ml, the absorbance was found to be 0.15. For 300, it was found to be 0.24. For 450 microgram per ml, it was found to be 0.35. For 600 microgram per ml, it was found to be 0.42. And for 750 microgram per ml, it was found to be 0.52. So you can see, as the concentration of glucose is increasing, absorbance is also increasing. Then we took the absorbance of unknown concentration of glucose. So absorbance was found to be 0.32. Now we are going to plot the graph of absorbance versus concentration, that is absorbance on y-axis and concentration on x-axis. Then we will put the point 0.32, that is for unknown, on the y-axis, and we are going to extrapolate it on the x-axis from the standard calibration curve. So let us see the graph. So here you can see absorbance on y-axis, concentration on x-axis. So blue points represent the absorbance found at the various concentrations for standard glucose solutions. For unknown, the absorbance was 0.32. So we are going to extrapolate 0.32 on the x-axis, and on extrapolating we got 410 microgram per ml. So from the graph we can say concentration of unknown glucose solution is found to be 410 microgram per ml. So the result is concentration of unknown solution of glucose is found to be 410 microgram per ml. Now let us see some of the questions for synopsis. What are chromophores? A chromophore is a part of molecule which is responsible for its color. Visible light that hits the chromophore can be absorbed by exciting an electron from its ground state to an excited state. That is, the part of molecule which is responsible for its color is known as chromophore. Give the equation for Beer-Lambert's law. On combining the Beer and Lambert's law, we got the equation for transmittance. As transmittance is equal to I upon I0, where I0 is the intensity of incident radiation and I is the intensity of transmitted radiation. So this is how we can find the relation between the intensity of light and transmittance. Differentiate between colorimeter and a spectrophotometer. So colorimeter, it works only in the visible range, that is from 400 to 800 nanometer. In spectrophotometer, it works in UV, that is ultraviolet, as well as visible range. So UV range is from 200 to 400 nanometer and visible range is from 400 to 800 nanometer. So we can say spectrophotometer works in the range 200 to 800 nanometer. In colorimeter, only colored solution can be analyzed, or if the solutions are colorless, as we have seen in today's practical, glucose was colorless, so we have converted it into the colored one with the help of DNSA. So in colorimeter, only the colored solution can be analyzed, or the colorless one can be analyzed only after converting it to the colored form. Whereas in spectrophotometer, colored as well as colorless solution can be analyzed. Here the colorless solution need not be converted into the colored ones. If filters are used for the wavelength selection in colorimeter, that is, a range is to be selected. For spectrophotometer, prism or grating monochromator are used. In colorimeter, the cuvette is made up of glass or plastic. As we are working in visible range, glass or plastic is enough. But in spectrophotometer, quartz cuvette are to be used. As glass does not allow the wavelength from 200 to 400 nanometer to pass through, so in spectrophotometer we have to use quartz or silica cuvettes. Colorimeter is less accurate as compared to the spectrophotometer. Colorimeter is less expensive as compared to spectrophotometer. Which light sources can be used in colorimeter? So tungsten lamp and carbon arc lamp can be used. What are the disadvantages of colorimeter? It cannot be used for colorless compounds. It does not work in the UV and IR range. Specific wavelength cannot be set. Here the range of wavelength has to be selected. Similar colors from the interfering substances can produce errors in the result. Thank you.